Hi, it's Doug Holt with Author of Your Own Story, and in today's episode, we're going to revisit one of our most popular daily growth hacks. So grab your notebooks and remember, the key to success is doing the work. Let's get started. Today's topic: which problems deserve your attention? Hi, I'm Doug Holt with Author of Your Own Story, and this is your Daily Growth Hack, where each day we give you a tip, trick, or insight to help you up-level what we call the 5 to Thrive. That is your mind, your body, your soul, your relationships, and your business. This question comes from Victor, and Victor says, Doug, I got a question that might be a great highlight for the Daily Growth Hacks. What problems or questions deserve our attention? I mean, how do we distinguish which aspects of our life we should be paying attention to, and which ones are a waste of time, money, and energy? So, Victor, this is a great question, and thank you for submitting it. Now, there's a lot of follow-up questions I'd want to know, like how do you define the problem? Is this a problem that you're having internally or something that you feel someone's bringing on to you? And what kind of problems are these? So there's a variety of questions. So whenever a problem occurs, you got to remember a couple things. One, there's always 3 solutions to a problem. There's not just 1, 2, or, there's always at least 3 to come through it. Now, how do you determine which ones deserve your attention? Well, obviously some problems are immediate, right? So some problems that come to you right away that can affect your health. Those are things that you want to address right away. But the filter that I would use when an issue comes up is I would put it into one of 4 categories, right? So this is something that's urgent and important. This is something that's urgent and not important. This is something that's not urgent and important. And this is something that's not urgent and not important. Now, this 4-quadrant segment I got from Stephen Covey, and I still use it today. He wrote in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And so oftentimes what we do as humans is we work in the urgent and not important category. This is often answering emails. These are problems that come up with friends that might come up, that they're drama in their lives. And so what we want to be focusing on, Victor, with these problems are those things that are important but not urgent. So if we can stay in that category, there's a sense of calmness that comes through you and a sense of being able to achieve your goals at a higher level and really working towards those bigger goals that you've set for yourself. So with that said, and you may be talking about problems and questions that come up in your life, like what are those problems and questions that are really deserve addressing? And that's a great question. That's going to be very individualistic. So in other words, what I would look at that through the filter is, do these problems or solutions, one is, are they immediate? In other words, are these fires that I have to put out right now? And what happens if I don't do anything with it? Now, if I don't do anything with the problem and it still stays there and it doesn't really affect me or my loved ones, I will most likely not deal with it. I won't, and not in the sense that I'm avoiding it, but in the sense that it's not really a problem, right? It's just something that I'm creating within inside myself. Now, if something comes up and it's a problem that comes up into my life and it's something that is more of a philosophical question, kind of like a career question, or what do I want to do, or things of this issue, or maybe it's a relationship issue, what I'll do is I'll actually set time to think about this, right? So what I'll do is I'll grab a journal. I love journals because the act of writing it out, that physical act of writing something out, there's a brain connection, a kinesthetic connection that helps you release some of this creative energy. It really just works. So writing out the question, what is the question? And then write out what's really going on, like what really is happening here. Now, relationship issues and problems with relationships very rarely are actually the issue at hand. It's something else. And oftentimes it triggers something from the past. So that's what I want to figure out. Get to the root of the problem. What's really happening here? And what needs to be addressed? What needs to be addressed right now in this moment? And what just actually is just drama that you just need to get away from? And so that's the first step I would take, is journaling that out. And then thinking, hey, does this problem, or issue or question, does this affect my life? Does this affect my life currently, or does this affect my future life as being the author of my own story? So, for example, I don't have enough money to pay bills. That's a problem. That's an immediate problem only if, your family's going to get evicted, things are going to happen. just adverse effects to you. Now, if you can't pay your bills, there's also other solutions. You can reduce your expenses, right? You can negotiate with creditors. You can find alternatives to paying bills. You can work more. You can get another job. There's all kinds of solutions that turn that problem into a situation or just something that you're dealing with on your day-to-day basis. Now, again, Victor, without knowing exactly what problems and questions, because this is pretty vague, to answer for you, I'm trying to give you the best solution of how I would address that. And I would do the same thing with questions. Now, questions come up all the time, and I love thought-provoking questions. That's why at the end of these daily growth hacks, I always recommend you sharing them with at least 3 people, because then you're having conversations that matter. In fact, I actually seek out questions in my life and question my own belief systems on a regular basis. And again, I do this through journaling. So what I would do is write out the question, and I would write out, what does it mean to me? So if the question is, should I stay here in Bend, Oregon, where I am, and use this as my jump-off spot for all the adventures my family and I go on? Now, this is something I can write out, and I want to look at a pros and cons list. I like a traditional pros and cons. What are the pros of me staying here and using Bend, Oregon as my home base? And then what are the cons? With the author of Your Own Story lifestyle, I can live anywhere in the world. I can travel anywhere in the world. I have the financial means, and I have the means to do it just with the lifestyle. So I'm very lucky, and I'm very grateful for that. However, it creates a weird set of problems, right? Where do I actually choose to live? And so what I do is a pros cons list. What does that mean? What are the pros of living in Bend, Oregon? What are the cons? What are my other opportunities, right? Third choice. What are my other opportunities that are out there? Sure, we have this really nice adventure van that I'm actually, between these daily growth hacks, I'm actually working on. So go on our next trip. We could just live in there. We could travel the United States. There's all kinds of options. What are the pros and cons with that? And I'll start weighing those questions out. I don't think there's questions that aren't worth having, right? I don't think there's questions that you shouldn't, actually think about or waste your time on. Obviously, everything's relative. You don't have to spend 6 solid days trying to figure out where you should live or things of that nature. Decisions get made, and I like to make decisions very quickly. I like to be decisive. I think the first thing that comes to mind tends to be the best answer for me. And so I'd recommend you look at that for yourself as well. But there's no area that I don't think should be questioned personally. Now, with that, again, I like the journaling, because the journaling you can also go back to and let it sit with yourself. So ask the question before you go to bed, right? So you ask the question, geez, should I use Bend, Oregon as my jump-off spot, as my home base for all these epic adventures my family and I do? And then the next morning, subconsciously, during the night, things are working, things are going on in my brain. And then next morning, that's when I would start to journal about it again and actually revisit that question. So Victor, I don't know if this exactly answers your question. Again, it's a little vague. If not, clear it up, just shoot me an email. I'm happy to go over it for you. But also, I'd encourage you to throw it in the Author of Your Own Story group to get other people's insights as well. That's it for me today. So remember, share this out with 3 people you know. Have conversations that matter. And like Victor, make sure you're actually putting this out into the world and actually doing the work. So grab your journal, do the work just like Victor did. How do you solve problems? How do you solve things that come to you? Questions. I'd love to hear from you in the Author of Your Own Story group. So I'll see you there. That's it for me today. Go out and be the author of your own story. I hope you enjoyed today's Daily Growth Hacks. Please put your comments right down below, and remember to click subscribe. This way we can ensure that we're delivering these daily growth hacks right to you each and every day. On behalf of the whole team here, remember, go out and be the author of your own story.